Instead of trying to change the white man in your mind, make you accept us, we change the mind of the black man and make him accept himself. And as soon as he accepts himself, he'll solve his own problem. He won't be trying to force himself into your factory and into your bedroom and into your kitchen.
With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa 9, like you got in Haiti. So what we're talking about is there has to be an educational program. That's very important. As a matter of fact, we so important for us that a person has to go through 6 weeks of our political education before he can consider himself a member of the party, able to even run down ideology for the party. Why? Because if they don't have the education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. You might get people caught up in the emotionalist movement. You understand me? You might get them caught up in because they're poor and they want something. And then if they're not educated, they want more. And before you know it, they'll be capitalist. And before you know it, we have Negro imperialists.
Peace and Black Power family. It's your Harlem educator, author, and activist, the Black Liberation Coach, Brother Ajay Taimba. I just want to take a few moments to welcome you to Harlem Liberation School's YouTube channel. Harlem Liberation School was started in 2016 by myself and my queen. And we basically saw that there was a lack of foundational black political education going on in Harlem. We're not going to get up from under white supremacy without knowing how oppression works, how it affects and impacts on our community, the ways in which we internalize our own oppression and engage in self-defeating behavior and thinking, and our socio-political movements and our very important individuals and organizations throughout our history who played a leading role in fighting against and resisting and disrupting white supremacy. So Harlem Liberation School was founded as a black political education center for adults. Because education is not just relegated to children. Adults need education. It's those of us adults who maybe when we were kids did not get that foundational Africana studies, black political education, the things we need to know to be free and to fight effectively for our liberation. And so that's what we're here to do. We hope that you will come through, check us out, look at our videos, like them, comment on them, and share them. Peace and Black Power. Peace and Black Power family. It's Brother Ajay Taimba from Harlem Liberation School, where we teach black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. And we want to welcome you to, I believe this will be episode 4 of our Hip Hop 50 series. With this series, what we're trying to do is provide a grassroots outlet for regular people that are not hip hop executives, that are not technically in the hip hop industry, to share their points of view, their perspectives, what they love about hip hop, their memories of hip hop, maybe even to be critical of hip hop in an oral tradition sort of way, and to document it. I think it's important as these genres grow and they become, money gets involved. Sometimes narratives change, family. It's important that we get the opinions not just of people who are eating from hip hop, but people who have been culturally eating from hip hop, spiritually eating from hip hop, people who just like the music and the genre, as well as those of us who were participants. I was an MC. We have people who were DJs, break dancers, graffiti artists, and we got people that just love the music. And this music helped them in some meaningful way. And we want to spread that message with this series. With that said, we're bringing on a really powerful brother who uses math as his window to the world, his weapon, his shield for the community. This is what he brings to the community table. His expert knowledge of math. He's using it in a wonderful way. He has a YouTube channel. He has a new book, How to Use All This Math, hip hop channel called All This Math. We are talking about the one and only, my brother Akil Parker. How you doing, my brother?
Peace, Baba. What's going on?
Hey, man, I'm glad to be alive and to be highly energized, man, and to have people like you to be on this type of program, man. I see we have a comment. I want to go to that very quickly. That's my queen. My queen bee says, "Wukusa to the family." And you know, Harlem Liberation School takes the advice of Brother Malcolm: wake up, clean up, stand up, make it an acronym. Sounds like it's an African word, family, but it's not. It's an acronym for wake up, clean up, stand up.
Right.
Now, having said that, Brother Kid, we're gonna get right into it. Those of you watching, thank you for joining live. We know more people will come in the recorded version, but please don't share all this goodness. Don't keep it all to yourself. Share it with the family. Share the link so other people can check it out. Right here on Harlem Liberation School on YouTube. I guess the first thing, Brother Kill, in way of a general introduction for those who are unfamiliar with you, just give us a general introduction. I have some prompts there, but just give us a general introduction of who you are, my brother.
All right, so my name is Akil Parker. I currently live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Grew up and spent my formative years in Baltimore, Maryland, but originally was born in the Bronx before my family migrated to Baltimore when I was around 7 years old. I'm a math teacher. I'm a math professor, a writer. And, I just, and also have a YouTube channel where I'm trying to teach math to the entire Black community and finally address that, some of the deficiencies that we have and some of the challenges that we have with understanding the content and, making it easy for people, showing the relevance of it for people, showing the utility of it for people, and, get us to be able to get into that math arena, as a collective, and not just look at math as something to like a necessary evil that we, I got to take this class in school. So let me try to see what I can do to get by, to get some basic understanding. But in order to actually really understand it and learn it and embrace it, and then we could use math as a tool of liberation. Because that's really how I see it. The more and more I study it, I see it as a tool of liberation. So yeah, I'm just out here just, based in Philadelphia, but, I do a lot of moving around, traveling to different places. Just came back from Atlanta, this past weekend. I was at a National Association of Mathematicians conference, hanging out with some kind of heavy hitters, like some people, some Black folks and whatnot with PhDs in math and people that, studied a lot more math than I have at a much higher level, which is very inspiring. It makes me, even more motivated to learn on that level so then I can bring that to the community, so we can really see like, how we can use this subject as a tool, for us and, to teach our children, as early as possible, get them a strong foundation and whatnot.
Brother, we appreciate that introduction. I think it gives people a sense of who you are and what it is you're trying to do. And I like to think, brother, that you're a heavy hitter. I think that our community oftentimes privileges those who are dead and those who are older. And sometimes we got to ask, well, Dr. Ben had people that saw his beauty and knowledge when he was 30 and 40. If you look at the old films of Malcolm, some of those meetings, you see Dr. Ben sitting right in the meeting as a young man.
Yeah.
He had to start somewhere. So I like us to be sometimes to look at who are the potential elders and jegnas amongst us and to give them that type of support so they could be the quote unquote official, jegnas that we look to. So I like to say that you're one of our heavy hitters. You're the only person I know that's doing that type of work with math as intentional as you're doing it. So I salute that, my brother.
I appreciate it.
No doubt. Now, brother, let's get into it. What is the first hip hop song you remember hearing? And do you remember the scene? Do you remember what you were doing when you heard that song?
Yeah, vividly, actually, and I've talked about this before throughout the years. First hip hop song I remember hearing, I was about 6 years old. This is before my family moved to Baltimore. I'm still living in the Bronx. We lived at 1981 Sedgwick Avenue in an apartment 1A. So you didn't have to go upstairs to get to the apartment. It's on the first floor. And my dad was playing 98.7 Kiss FM. It was like a Friday night or a Saturday night. I think it was DJ Red Alert. And this is the first song I vividly remember hearing. It was Eric B. for President. And, Dad had the old school speakers, and had the whole stereo receiver, then the tape deck with the 2 tapes, then the equalizer. Then he had the record player on top. Record player, of course, always went on top. But he had like the whole the furniture unit, where you put all the different parts. And and I always wondered about the equalizer. Like, how do you get the levels a certain way? And I used to think of it as like a toy. I would hit the different buttons to try to manipulate the sound and whatnot. But I never could really figure it out, the way my dad could do it. But yeah, it was Eric B. for President. And I just remember that beat was just crazy. Like, and it just felt good, listening to it. And then Rakim rapping, I didn't, over the years, as I got older, I memorized, some of the lyrics, but at that time it was just, it was catchy. It was catchy, and it was like, it was cool, and I was just like, and it was the fact that we was in the apartment and it was so loud, but it didn't feel like overbearing and like, uncomfortable. It felt good,
That's
and I
good,
was
man.
a black man talking, and he was rhyming, so that made it even better. So it was like made it even cooler.
That's what's up. So you associated with a very good memory.
Yeah, definitely.
A feel good moment. Okay, that's excellent, man, and very good memory too.
Yeah.
Now I guess the next question would be, because people grew up in different locations. So for some people, like me being in New York, if somebody grew up in Arkansas, brother Obafemi was just on, and he was saying he didn't get to hear hip hop on the radio till 1986 or 7. They just didn't play it. So if you didn't get a tape, whatever, he said you didn't have access to it. So some people grew up obviously in New York, have local artists that they liked that may have emerged to be celebrity artists, whereas there may be people in other places who may have had local MCs, but when they think of the celebrity MCs, it's a different class of people. So this question is speaking to that. Who would you say were the popular, if you remember, the local hip hop personalities that you remember growing up, and at the time, who were your celebrity sort of hip hop personalities? Or it could be one and the same.
So I guess, like, thinking back on it, like growing up in Baltimore, as I started to get older and become more in tune with the music, I don't remember any local, like, Baltimore, like, hip hop personalities. I was, we were just listening to the people that were, like, basically in New York mainly. And I didn't listen to, I only mainly listened to people that were, like, from New York, because that's who would get play on the radio, and the Baltimore radio stations, 92Q, V103, or the DC stations, 95.5 and 93.9, I think, back in the late 80s, early 90s. And then the video program. So that was a big thing too. Like, there was the Jukebox Network, that would just, people would order videos online. You would call the hotline and order the videos, and then the videos would play. Or like the MTV or BET would play videos and whatnot. So I don't remember local hip hop personalities, but, in terms of like, national, like, you had like a Tribe Called Quest. I remember like early 90s, Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One. Of course, I already mentioned Rakim, well, Eric B. and Rakim. Big Daddy Kane, Kwame. Kwame was like, he, made like, fun, like feel good music. I remember seeing that the video, he had the polka dots on and everything. But yeah, that's like early 90s, late 80s, when I'm in like elementary school and then into middle school. And, and then, just I was kind of growing with the music. I was kind of like following along, trying to keep up with it. I remember at one point I had bought a Ghetto Boys. I bought the Ghetto Boys tape because I saw the Ghetto Boys video. My mom is playing tricks on me. And in this local record store that used to be in Northwood Shopping Center, which is now Northwood Commons, which, shout out to my alma mater, Morgan State University. They've done a lot of work over there.
Shout out.
Kind of developing that whole area out. But there used to be a record store in there called Cozy Corner Records. And I used to go in there, get music, get like the single cassettes. They should be like $3.50, I think. You had the A side and the B side. You get like, the remix. And a lot of times, how the remix used to be better than the radio version. So I would definitely want to get the single, hear the remix version. And then it was kind of like an exclusivity type thing, because when you,
Brother Kill, we got somebody on here that's like, yo, PSK, what's up with PSK? I guess because maybe they're from Philly.
Yeah. So I didn't move to Philly until much later. I didn't even come to Philly till after college. I was a grown man. That's like I come to Philly in like 2004.
Oh, right, okay.
That's past that was before my time. Being
sir.
Philadelphia. But
somebody's feeling PSK. I used to feel that song too. PSK. Yeah. People always say, "What the hell does that mean?" Let me ask you. I'm assuming that in Baltimore, go-go was bumping, right?
Not
So,
go-go, not go. That was further south in DC. So we had
um,
Baltimore club music. We had Baltimore, what we call club music. The kids in Philly, they listen to, it's funny because they listen to it now too, but they call it party music, but it was club music.
ah,
I was saying this to my sisters actually the other day. Like Baltimore club music is actually a national treasure. You know, it doesn't get the respect that I think it deserves as a genre of music. You know, I mean, with its with even with some of its negative aspects in terms of, I think some of the programming that it subjected us to as young impressionable minds. But still, like it was good music in terms of sonically as far as music goes. So we were listening to Baltimore club music. Matter of fact, a lot of us were like anti go-go just because, like, that whole territorial, you know
territorial, yeah,
that like kind of like colonizer imposed like African tribalism type thing, like DC black people and like Baltimore black people, we're not supposed to like the same stuff, like we can't
right.
think. Not so, but when you get older, it's like, okay, you can kind of appreciate it. People told me when I got to college, like, yeah, you might not like it when you hear the go-go on the radio, but if you go to an actual go-go, then that's going to change your whole perception on it, you know.
Could
So
you give us an example? I'm sorry, brother Kill. Could you give us an example of the music you're referring to out of Baltimore? An example of a hit song that people may resonate with?
Let me see. I'm kind of at a loss for like the names of these because it's more recognizable by beat. I mean,
Got you.
you might say the Percolator, like Time for the Percolator.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might
Hell yeah. That was
like,
hot.
it's interesting though too because there's a difference between house music and Baltimore club music, and I think
Mm,
the Percolator kind of is in that house category. Some people would put that in the house category.
mm,
So it's difficult for me to describe because that's another thing. Like, there's many similarities between house and what we call Baltimore club, but there's differences too. That I think it has to do with like the type. I don't know enough about, I think, music production to be able to really speak intelligently about the distinctions. Um, but
mm.
yeah, definitely is a difference. And I think one of the things that I liked about Baltimore club was that they would sample a lot of times. They would sample hip hop like lyrics, but it would be over just a beat, a repeated beat, and it'd be something catchy from a hip hop a hip hop song. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So yeah,
mhm. Brother Flip is giving you a shout out, my brother,
I
on
got
the Beat Productions.
yeah, I flip.
Now, this is very interesting. I'm learning stuff every time I do these interviews around in this particular series. Um, do you have any? Okay, let me preface this by saying I was working at a school in Brooklyn, and it was still August, so it wasn't quite school hadn't started. It was more of an orientation for teachers and staff. So only people in the building were teachers and staff. This one particular day, the principal was trying to go through this workshop and this activity, and just nobody's really getting involved. Everybody's kind of lethargic and moving slow. So the principal finally said, "Man, what's going on with you guys? We got school coming up. Come on, get live, wake up. What's going on?" So one sister kind of meekly raises her hand. It says, "Not gonna lie, I was up all night watching the verses with Dipset and the Lots." Right? So everybody starts laughing because I was too, and almost every teacher in there was doing the same exact thing. I thought that was really funny, but it also spoke to the way that hip hop bridges these gaps. Like, there are teachers you would never think would be up listening to the Locks and Dipset verses. I was wondering, do you have any funny or interesting memories involving hip hop yourself?
I don't know if I have any like funny memories, but I guess interesting memories. One of the things that comes to mind is being introduced to Kwame Ture through the Boogie Down Productions Edutainment album that came out in 1990. And that was very interesting because I'm listening to the album, and I wanted the album because it had "Love's Gonna Get You" on it, Material Love. That was like up to that became one of my favorite songs, like because of the beat and just KRS-One's like storytelling and how he was, it was like it was a cautionary tale, but it was, but it was cool, and like his wordplay and just his storytelling and just everything. It just like that song really spoke to me. But then as when I get the album, I'm listening through the album, and like every couple of songs, he's got these like interludes and these like skits from this brother talking. This brother with like a slide. I didn't know who the brother was. I know who Kwame Ture was at that point. I'm like 11, 12 years old. But what he's saying is like catchy, and like you tell he was giving a lecture somewhere, and he was like kind of telling jokes, but it was consciousness. It was like, he was talking about, us embracing our culture, not perming our hair, kind of standing up to like, racism and like white supremacy and things like that. But that was really my introduction to Kwame Ture. It wasn't until years later that I would really like take a deep dive and really study him like real heavy and gain such an appreciation for him to the point where, my youngest son is named Kwame. It's named after him, basically. With that brother, and then reading Black Power, reading Stokely Speaks, reading, his autobiography, Ready for Revolution, and, and just, getting all those not YouTube, but the DVDs from the different Black bookstores, with him, giving lectures through the 80s and through the 90s, before he, made transition in 98. And even going back further, like going on YouTube and finding like, earlier speeches from the 60s when he was like still, a young organizer, like in SNCC and even like post SNCC, but he's still like traveling around the country, going to different colleges and, challenging, people on, certain like racist ideas that, were very like that they were trying to make mainstream and whatnot. So yeah, that's really like a, an interesting like memory for me. And just as I've had the opportunity to grow older, kind of seeing how what I would say the popular rap music has changed, even though I don't agree often with the narrative, this kind of like oversimplified narrative that rap never had kind of silliness and nonsense in it, because I think it always did have that, but I think there was more parody, there was more balance. Like today, you're not going to get a popular commercial rapper, at least, that's going to put out albums that's going to be on the radio, that's going to have like, Kwame Ture lectures, in between. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Those rappers might be doing that, but they'll probably be more independent. They won't get the airplay, but which is cool, because I think with the technology that's available and some of the platforms that are available, you can kind of put that out on your own if you want to. And then, those of us that are interested in that, we can do our part to share it, and make it popular for more people,
That's right. It's a perfect segue to this question. You were kind of touching on the outskirts of this question. What would you say are the main differences between hip hop in the 80s or 90s and hip hop today? Because that's a big conversation. I know certainly generationally it's a big conversation. And I think on both sides we can tend to be a little uh purist about it. Or entitled. The older folk tend to think, no, ours is better, and the young folk know that ours is better. I'm not necessarily engaging that,
Right.
but the differences that you hear sonically, or the differences you see in hip hop in those time periods.
I think that there's much more corporate control, so a lot of the creativity has been taken away. There's much less, I would say, diversity in terms of content. But I think that's more of an issue of corporate control, because when a court, man, it's, these guys, go to westernized business schools and get MBAs, and then figuring out how to maximize profit. So if you want to maximize profit, then what's going on? What happen is you're going to come up with a formula, essentially, to make a product, and then if you want to sell that product, whoever you recruit to be the rapper has to follow that formula. And that may not lend itself toward being the most creative, because you're essentially like putting them into a box. It's kind of like, the school district of Philadelphia just purchased this new math curriculum, and this math curriculum is scripted. It's a scripted math curriculum. So a lot of teachers in the school district of Philadelphia are making complaints because they're like, well, if it's a scripted curriculum, then I'm not really teaching. I'm just like reading the script, So that type of thing has happened. So that type of thing happened in I think hip hop as well. But that's going to happen, I think, whenever money is involved. Also, you have, I think, as a function of the quality of education that a lot of our people have been receiving across the board, you don't have as many rappers that are bringing the intellectualism to their lyrics. Like, you're not going to have, like, I think it's because, and I don't think it's because they're like bad people per se. I think it's just because of just a lack of awareness and an ignorance. Like, I might want, a popular young rapper to mention Malcolm X, but he probably don't know about Malcolm X. He might know the name Malcolm X because everybody knows the name Malcolm X because he's kind of, there's like a mainstream narrative around Malcolm X. So you'll know his name, but you won't really know what he was talking about in the Ballad or the Bullet, or you won't really know, or you're not expected to or not supposed to if you just go to public school or charter schools or most private schools that aren't controlled by Black people. You're not supposed to know what he was talking about in Message to the Grassroots, that speech, or, in a lot of his speeches, and, what his ideas were about Pan-Africanism, what his ideas were and positions were on capitalism and colonialism. You're not supposed to know all that. But like, I think people in the past, they were educated in a different way. And then they were also creative and they brought that to their music. So then the music was almost like a form of protest for some people, not everybody. I don't want to romanticize it because, some people was about just, cars and clothes and gold chains and everything. And
That's
whatnot,
right.
which is cool. Like, because, I like cars and clothes and gold chains too. And I think, speaking of that, I think that's what when I was younger, that's what attracted me to Nas. And Nas was my favorite rapper because he was like, he's talking of like, I'm young growing up in Baltimore. And like, at some point I'm looking at the drug dealers as the role models. It's like they got the money, they got the girls, they got the cars, they got the clothes, they got all of that. But then at the same time, he's like, but at the same time, on some level, like, I know better because of the way my parents tried to raise me. So, but he mentions in his songs, he's mentioning Marcus Garvey, or he's mentioning Mumia Abu-Jamal, or he's like, like Greeks in Egypt learning something deep from their teachers. So he's saying that stuff too. So for me, it's like, well, damn, like, okay, this brother's like the best of both worlds. So I can be a fan of him, and he embraces like all these different things, even if the things are contradictory, even if they can be contradictory, but I think that, yeah, overall, there's much more corporate control because there's much more money involved. There's much more of an investment. I think overall, it's a lot more minstrelsy going on, a lot more minstrelsy. A lot of these images, and a lot of like it's like the more popular you are, the more you have to feed into European narratives and ideas on what Blackness is and what Black men look like and who Black men are and who Black women are. And the more you can do that, the more money you'll make and the more popularity you'll have. That's what I see as time has went on. But I think it's all because we're not controlling the distribution. We're not really controlling the product because we're just like kind of playing. A lot of the actual rappers are just playing a part, and they're getting paid handsomely. But as long as they're not controlling, the narrative behind it, it's like, they're not controlling the script, so to speak. So we think that, they're having a lot of creative control, and they might, but that you got to find somebody that only thinks within these parameters. So it's like, if I find somebody that only thinks within these parameters anyway, and then I tell them I give you free control to rap about whatever you want. It's like Carter G. Woodson. Like, I don't got to worry about what you're going to rap about because I already control your thinking. I know you don't know that much because I also control the schools that you went to. I also control what you've been exposed to your whole life. So I know that you're locked in anyway. So I can say, yeah, go in the studio, write about whatever you want to write about. But I know what you're going to end up writing about because I know what I've allowed you to learn about. Because I know I didn't let you learn about Thomas Sankara. You know, so if you from Harlem, and you rapping, I know what you're gonna rap about. You're not gonna rap about 1987 when Thomas Sankara came to Harlem and had the nickel plate 45 on his
brought it out. Yeah,
exactly. You're not gonna rap
that's
about
right.
that because you never studied about that. You probably don't have no
Yeah.
elders about that. So you're gonna rap about the drug dealers and getting money and getting girls and that type of stuff. So I definitely think that that's like a significant change because that that becomes more dominant, just the maintenance of the status quo. Because and really a lot of the rap today is really just a commercial. It's a commercial. The commercials to sell products because every time the rapper name drops a product, a certain type of car, a clothing designer, it's free promo. They're promoting products, but also promoting lifestyle as well. And then we hear about it, and we say, oh, well, maybe I'll consider this product. Maybe I'll go buy this. And then it's a lot of them. It's a lot of them talking about the same things. So it's almost like what's that like rule in marketing? You got to hear something. You got to hear about something like at least 6 times before you commit to make a purchase, like on average. So like if I give you 6 different rappers, 6 different songs, rapping up a name dropping this one product, then okay, that's your 6 times right there. So I definitely see a lot of that, unfortunately. But I guess it's to be expected because we don't control it. Like Jamel Alameen, H. Rap Brown, he said famously, anything that you don't control can be used as a weapon against you. So we gotta control anything we do.
Yes, sir. Now we're gonna break it up a little bit, brother Kill.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever spit no lyrics on your own, but could you just spit your favorite hip hop lyric?
My
Or
favorite.
one of your favorites?
Damn, that's hard to do. Okay, one of them. Man, let me think, because there's so many. Let me think. Can I think on that for a minute and then come back to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna spit one. I spit one. Right. Very short. It's Lauryn Hill. I forget which album with Fugees. She says, after all the knowledge and the Afrocentric theory, I add a motherfucker so you ignorant niggas hear me. Say word. That's bad. When I heard that, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That was like she's being self-reflective in the song. She knows that to reach people, she may have to trigger them in a certain way. I just thought that was deep how she did that. Shows that she understands the culture and the enemy too.
I think, okay. I know one of my favorites, and rest in peace to this brother, Phife Dawg. So I mentioned
yes, sir.
Earlier. A lot of people are not as familiar with. They're familiar with the scenario, but not the scenario remix. And I think his verse on the scenario remix is one of my favorite hip hop verses of all time. I'm trying to think of how it starts off because it's like I know like what he gets into, but I don't know like his first word or his first 2 words. All right, it's gonna come to me. I might have to look it up. I might have to Google it.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right, brother. It's all right.
So that's the thing about hip hop. It's like you might not know the whole verse, but it's kind of like if I know the first word, then I know the rest because I'll be able to catch the rhythm.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah, but I know he says something. He says something like vanilla ice platinum. It's just ridiculous. Excuse my French, but profanity is all I knew until you others sell out. So yeah, F you too. And let it be known, I'm not the one to step to. You better call it D nice to your rescue. Freestyle fanatic, probably the best around. As for corny MCs like Chuck D, I shut them down. The Archibald Dawn of hip hop, and I won't stop. The 5-foot assassin has come to wreck enough shot. So do like Michael Jackson and remember the times. Put on your dancing shoes or something because you sure can't rhyme. But it's even better in the beginning. So I couldn't remember the beginning, but yeah, that's one of my favorite verses. Like everything from that song.
Phife was nasty.
I like the original scenario too.
But Phife was nasty. His metaphor game was ill.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say one, but I don't want it to get misinterpreted. I'm going to keep that one to myself. But yeah, he was nasty with it, no doubt about it. Now, I'm curious if you were to think back over your life, brother Kill, the sad times, the happy times, the disappointing times. How would you say that hip hop has helped you? Has hip hop ever helped you get over a breakup, push through when you felt demoralized, whatever? Can you think of a way that hip hop has helped you in a tangible way?
I think in many ways, like hip hop has been a common denominator for me. It helped me, form bonds with, people, brothers I went to high school with, middle school with. We always had something to talk about, something to discuss. Um, and it was a common ground. It served as a common ground for us, like a unifying like force, like in a sense, because I know like just a lot of times we would just want to get the new albums on Tuesdays whenever the albums came out, or if you knew somebody that had the bootleg, you would try to find somebody to like tape it, get a cassette tape so you could get a recording of the bootleg, even ahead of that or even after the album came out, just so we could kind of like be connected and then be able to have that conversation, like have something to converse about. So I definitely think it was like a unifying force. It helped to develop community in a sense. In addition, I guess it helped to like expose me to a lot of my consciousness. Like a lot of the rappers in the past, would name drop certain like historical figures, certain historical events. I think of like I mentioned all the the name dropping that like Nas has done throughout his career. And I think about Common, like A Song for Asada by Common. That helped me, gain some awareness about Asada Shakur, because I didn't know much about Asada Shakur. And then I think back to that, I forget which song it was, but the Public Enemy song, when he mentions Joanne Chestnut. I can't remember which song it is, but he shouts out Joanne Chestnut. And at first I didn't know that was her name before she changed her name to Asada Shakur. So definitely like some hip hop, it has that ability to like really provide that like historical awareness, but you gotta have a strong filter though. And you gotta be able to kind of like mine through it and, be able to separate the good from the bad. I think one of the issues, and this like connects to one of, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's messages when he, was telling Malcolm about the clean glass and the dirty glass. So within hip hop, there are some clean glasses, but there's also some dirty glasses too. But I think to your earlier point about how it's changed, I think there's a lot more dirty glass in the mainstream and in the popular music, a lot more dirty glasses. So what ends up happening is the less dirty glass is seen as the clean glass, right? Where there may not be really a clean glass, So we just say, well, that's the less dirty glass, So I definitely, I think it's changed in that way. But like hip hop has helped me to also be able to kind of develop my like political awareness, because like it's almost like I think of hip hop and commercial hip hop, I should say, or commercial rap, as kind of a counter-revolutionary propaganda tool. And it's almost as if, and I think like in terms of record executives, because again, I think the rappers themselves a lot of times is just strawmen. They're just trying to get paid, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna send this message because I know this white man is gonna pay me. He's gonna cut me this check, right? And I'll be famous, go do shows and tours and all that type of stuff. But the people behind the scenes, I think a lot of them, they know better, right? The higher ups. And it's almost as if, because in the last, 15, 20 years, I've been studying a lot of Pan-Africanists, a lot of Black nationalists, a lot of African-centered scholars and whatnot. And I'm studying them, the Kwame Toure's, Malcolm X's, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Jacob Brothers, Marimba Ani, all these people. And then you listen to the music, and it's like a direct contrast. It's almost like these executives have also been listening to those African-centered scholars, the Bobby Wrights. They was listening to Bobby Wright, and they're like, okay, this is what we got to do. We got to make sure that we have rappers that tell the exact opposite, the antithesis to exactly what these guys are saying. Because what these guys were saying, what these black men and women were saying, was going to help African people, help black people get free. So we got to promote and push ideology that's going to do the exact opposite, which is to keep us under their control. And it's like, you know, because I just, you know, I listen to a lot of the popular music, and then I listen to a Ballad of the Bullet by Malcolm, or I listen to, you know, Bobby Wright, one of his lectures, and then I'm like, wait, this is one of the most popular rappers out right now. He's actually saying and promoting the exact opposite thing from what these African-centered scholars are talking about. And I know people like to say that, yeah, you know, we can be both and it's not always either or. I agree, it's not always either or, but sometimes it is either or. Sometimes we got to take a stand and say, no, these two ideas can't coexist if we're going to move forward. We got to make some tough choices. And the thing is, like, you know, you might have an emotional connection to that rapper because when times were hard for you, you might have listened to his music or her music, and it might have made you feel better. So you're like emotionally connected. But even though a lot of the content is very counter-revolutionary, very neo-colonial, very anti-black and Eurocentric, very misogynistic, very misandrist, you know, it's all of those things. But here's the challenge though. And I put myself out there because a lot of times, like, I know better, like I know all these things, but then at the same time, it's like, yeah, but I like that song though. So it's like, you know, it's like, so how do you deal with that? Because as I'm speaking, like, I'm guilty of this. I'm not even pointing the finger at nobody else. Like, because sometimes I might enjoy listening to some drug dealer rap, but I also understand the impact that has on the community in terms of young people that don't have the level of discernment that I have. They may listen to that and think, oh, this is real, this is aspirational. So he's telling stories about being a drug kingpin. I can go be a drug kingpin, and that should be my goal. Whereas I'm listening to it and I'm like kind of mining through it, and I'm pulling out other aspects, and I'm like kind of like unpacking it in my mind, and I'm like, it sounds good, but I'm doing like critical analysis of it and trying to, like, you know, take what's valuable. And, you know, because he might be also talking about, you know, being unwilling to give up without, you know, without having achieved success. And I might say, okay, well, I can apply that to all this math. Well, I can apply that to building my tutoring business or building my YouTube channel, or the fact that these guys, like, are constantly in the studio recording, or they're constantly shooting videos. And I'm like, damn, like, I need that work ethic for my YouTube channel, because I need to get up. I got like 600 videos now. I need 6,000 videos.
That's right. That's right.
So I might be able to take that, but it's the young people. The young people, they don't know no better. They're just like, you know, enamored with it. And they also may not know that, like, a lot of these guys are actors and actresses, because the way the hip hop has always been advertised and marketed is that they're keeping it real. So it's like, we know Denzel is acting, like, he's really not the equal. And he's never, we knew he wasn't really Malcolm X. We knew he wasn't really, you know, the soldier in Glory. We know that, but the rappers always promoted themselves like, you know, I keep it real. Like, I'm just talking about my real everyday life. And yeah, as we get older, you know, you may know better, but as a young person, I didn't know that these weren't authentic. I didn't know. And I wanted to
How would you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to believe that they were. And I'm sure, like, some of them might have been, but I know a lot of them, you know, are just not.
Brother Kill, I want to jump in to something you said that I think people are going to listen to when when the big numbers come in the recorded version of this video, and they're going to be like, oh, he's just saying that. When you said, it's almost as if somebody from the opposition or corporate world is listening to these people. Here's Malcolm, and here's Bobby Wright, and here's Amos Wilson, and they're writing, they're putting out a narrative that counters what they're saying. And I just want to caution people, don't be so quick to think that is just conjecture, because the famous broadcast journalist Gil Noble on his show Like It Is had a brother on there. Well, I say brother colloquially, that was a FBI agent. His name was Daythard Perry. His code name was Othello. And he said that the white man, FBI, had a library bigger than the Schomburg Library in Harlem, with more artifacts, records, books, cultural references. Said they knew more African languages than most African people. It means being facetious. But he said that they studied our culture vigorously. He said it was a white man that trained him that knew the stuff he didn't know. Right? And so, because that's the only way you could really destroy an enemy. If you think about it, you got to know about them intimately. So, family, don't be surprised if there aren't people that actually do that, and then take these messages that are revolutionary and life affirming, and then craft narratives that directly counter those messages, right? Because think about the 80s, Brother Kill, self-destruction. We're heading for self-destruction. And only the top rappers are telling people, put them guns down, stop that. Heavy D, MC Light, all these people. And then think about the dominant messaging you hearing from Chicago, not just Chicago, New York, not just New York, everywhere, about violence. I'll wet your shirt. I'm the hardest dude. I'll fill you up with bullets. These tropes, these narratives. So don't be surprised, family, if that isn't really what's happening, what he talked about.
And
but
I think like, I mean, we also got to think about what is the purpose of a think tank. Like these think tanks, I'm sure that they're getting down and like studying our scholars and figuring out how to counter, you know, what our scholars are doing and what they were talking about. And you know, and we can really, I think one thing that would be helpful in order for us to better understand commercial rap, at least, would be to create different categories, you know, instead of just, you know, like trap music and whatnot. But in terms of a political concept, like I think there should be a genre of black on black violence music, right? And when I say black on black violence, I'm not speaking in terms of the way white conservatives speak of it, as if there isn't a such thing as white on white violence. I know there's a such thing as white on white violence. There's Chinese on Chinese violence, right? So in the context of like intra-community violence, a lot of it is like, you know, black on black violence music. And to be honest, like when I'm listening to it, sometimes I'm like, I got to take a step back and like, wait, hold up. Like, I shouldn't feel like I want to go out and commit physical harm to some black person based on what I was just listening to, this story I'm listening to this man tell. And I'm like, if I could be honest and say, this really makes me feel that way, I'm sure I'm not that unique. I'm not the only person that reacts that way. Now, I'm not going to go out and do it, but just the fact that those thoughts and that feeling enters into my psyche and enters into my person, that's unhealthy, and that can be unhealthy in and of itself. I think another category is consumerist music, or consumerist rap.
That's definitely Jay-Z. Yeah, he's both.
You got definitely got porno rap. There's pornographic rap, you know, and I think the fact that there used to be BET Uncut, used to come on at 2 a.m., you know, with the videos and the strip clubs and whatnot. I know because I used to be, you know, watching it sometimes. But there's a lot of rap music that would coincide with, you know, that type of music. And I'm not even saying that it should be censored or eliminated, but I just have an issue with the fact that children are exposed to it. Like, I don't think it should be on the radio at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, you know? And then people will jump to say, well, you know, it's the parents' responsibility. I can agree with you. It is the parents' responsibility. But the question becomes, what do you do when you realize, as a community, as a responsible member of the community, when you recognize that the parents are derelict in their duty? When the parents are derelict in their duty, then you say, okay, well, you know what? Then, oh, well, these kids just going to suffer because your mom's supposed to be taking care of that. Your dad's supposed to be taking care of that. All right, cool. We know that. We all on the same page. But then what do you do in response to when the parents aren't doing it? Do you just sit back on your house and say, well, my kids know better and I don't let my kids be exposed to that? y'all are just bad parents. Like, that doesn't help. That doesn't help anything. Just point fingers at people that are not taking care of their responsibility. At some point, we as other members of the community got to step up and say, look, and even if it's out of self-interest, because that child that is misguided and misdirected because their parent is derelict in their duty has a very strong chance of harming my child anyway. So I can't just sit back and just be like, oh, well, you know, they shouldn't be exposed to this. But that's their mom's fault. Well, that's their dad's fault, you know? So to be realistic, but that, you know, that gets into a whole other issue of our lack of desire to be community oriented. A lot of us are very like individualistic or just familyistic. And we just want to like, listen, I just take care of mine. I can't be worried about none of y'all. You know, it all starts in the home. And, you know, that whole idea of, you know, it's not about community providing these like structures. It's about just individuals providing structures. And, you know, that's not going to be effective. So yeah, there should be different genres, like, you know, capitalist rap, porno rap, black on black violence rap, misandry rap, misogyny rap, just to get more specific, you know, because I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure that those executives behind the scenes, I'm sure that, you know, they're trying to promote these ideas, you know, in terms of commercial music, and I'm sure that they got these categories because they're like, look, we got to get them, you know, buying the products, okay? Get the rappers to talk like this and talk about this, you know.
Right.
And a lot, I'm gonna say this too, like I said, I studied a lot of Kwame Ture, and one of the things he said over and over again was, we have to organize our people. We have to join organizations or we have to start organizations. And then I listened to a lot of rappers over the last 10, 15 years. One of the prevailing narratives within a lot of the commercial rap is, I don't, you know, I'm gonna just quote what they say. I don't trust niggas. I can't trust black people. I can't. So I think people don't realize, like, and a lot of people, that resonates with a lot of people, because they'll be like, yeah, because you know, this guy used to be my homie. We grew up together, and then he burnt me for some money, you know, or he tried to sleep with my girl. So I can relate to that. So yeah, that's a great idea. I shouldn't trust black people at all. That's an unfortunate experience that you had. But then I think what happens is, that's a micro experience, but then we try to apply it and superimpose it on a macro level, whereas black people just shouldn't trust black people at all. So then when we start talking about, well, let's promote group economics, nah, we can't do that. I don't trust black people. It's impossible. So it's like, and it is the irony is this: the same rappers will go on platforms like Earn Your Leisure or like other platforms and talk about, you know, we should do group economics. Well, hold up, brother. You've made millions of dollars off of promoting music that, you know, that discourages black people from having an attitude that would lend itself toward group economics. So which is it? And I actually, I think some of them, they don't have the analytical ability to make that connection. So yeah, but these are just some of the things that our children need to be educated on in terms of media literacy. So when they're listening to the music, they're not just consuming those ideas that are going to keep us kind of stuck where we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting that last part you just said, this media literacy for the young people. I remember when I started as a teacher, this first school was a gang-ridden school for sure. Very violent school. The educational standard was low. The expectations for the students was low. And me trying to find ways to connect with this particular class I had. I forget what the actual subject was about in this social studies class, but I had them look at this verse from Biggie. Heartthrob never, black and ugly as ever. However, I stayed Gucci down to the socks, and I had them really break into groups and discuss what he was really saying in their own words. Now, I had a student who's now 30 something, some big hospital administrator hit me up. Mr. Taimba, I still remember the heartthrob, the Biggie Smalls verse. Yeah. And he said, you know, but the point is, I tried to find ways as best I could to use hip hop as a teacher to connect to my students. And I was just wondering, have you ever had an opportunity to use, I know you teach math,
Yeah,
but you also have a strong history piece that you
yeah,
include in your math. Have you ever used hip hop to kind of reach the students?
definitely, definitely all the time. I mean, because that that's what they're listening to. So I try to meet them where they are. And one thing I always tell like the young brothers, even the young sisters, but is I would always ask them this question like, what is he teaching you right now? Or what is she teaching you right now? Because the rapper is really a teacher. That album, them 12 tracks or 13, 14 tracks, that's a curriculum. Like we learn a whole lot. I know as a teenager, I learned a lot from listening to my favorite rappers. It was like, because in the music, we learned about, how to treat girls. We learned about what we should do with our money. We learned about how we should dress and just how we should the regard we should have for other black people. Some of it was healthy, some of it was very unhealthy. Hopefully, but I think that's another difference too, is that some of us had a stronger foundation, in terms of like principles and ethics and values. So when we listen to the music, we would see that, okay, this is contradictory to what I already know and what I've been taught already within my household and within my community. But then some of us didn't. Some of us didn't know, didn't already have a firm foundation. So then they hear the rapper say it and it's something problematic. It'd be just a story. But again, the way rap is marketed to us is that this is authentic. This is this guy's real life. He's not Denzel Washington. Even though he is Denzel Washington, he's marketed as though he's not Denzel Washington. So a lot of young people with impressionable minds, they consume it and they're like, yeah, okay, so this is how I need to handle myself when I'm out on the block. This is how I need to handle myself when I'm riding the train or riding the bus and somebody looks at me a certain kind of way, or I got to react like this, you know? So I always ask the students, like, what is he teaching you? What is she teaching you? Or I do similar to what you did. Take verses that I think are very relevant and just really get them to like really think. Because I think a lot of times the beat feels good and the words kind of just, get washed down. You kind of just like drink the words without really taking the time to taste the words. Like the words are like the nasty medicine, but the beat is what tastes good. That's the juice, right? But we still internalize it though. So that's a dangerous thing, because then you're still internalizing it, and it still will affect your behavior, even though you didn't consciously think of those words. And like what I always say is like, if I can get you to dance to something, then I can get you to do that thing that you're dancing to, right? Because it kind of integrates into your spirit and like your body, and like it's like you have a kinesthetic connection to it because you dancing to it, right? And it feels good. And like sometimes we take the most harmful and toxic and unhealthy things, but you put it over a nice beat, a decent beat, and then it starts to seem like it's a positive thing because the beat is positive. So I think that's how like psychologically we resolve the contradiction. So, but I think young people in terms of media literacy really need to like start to look at rap as like, how we critically analyze a book, like how we might critically analyze the miseducation of the Negro by Woodson. We need to take lyrics from your favorite rapper and print them out and then go line for line. And then, say, okay, does this make sense? This makes you feel good to rap this line along. Why does this make you happy? Why does this seem cool? Like really ask that question, like, why is that cool? Because I think that question right there is not asked nearly enough. Like, why is that cool? Like he's talking about, yeah, you get a girl and do this to a girl or whatever, or treat a girl this way. Why is that cool? Because a lot of times you don't even know like why it's cool. If you take a moment and step back and say, damn, like that's a good question. Like, why would you want to do that? Why you got to kick the girl out after you have sex with her? Like, why is that cool? like why?
Right.
But what he's trying to tell you is like, this is what men do. Like men have sex with women and just kick them out. You got to go. Get out my house. Like, but if we take a moment and just step back, and I think if we have these explicit conversations with young people and just get them to think about like, why is this decent? Then they can even say, because a lot of times like, okay, the commercial rapper is seen as an authority figure just because he or she has that platform. And we never stop to think, well, does this even make sense? Because I know when I was younger, a lot of times we didn't stop to think like, okay, Jadakiss said this, Nas said this, Jay-Z said this, Method Man said this. We didn't take the time to think like, okay, does it make sense though? Is this valid? We just thinking like, well, the beat is hot, we vibing to it, and he's riding the beat really well. It sounds good, so therefore it must be decent. So then we don't even to challenge it. Like so it never stands up to scrutiny. Like what I'm saying is like their words and their lyrics they're never scrutinized, because you just sit there and be like, oh yeah, it's cool. Okay, it must be cool. It must be okay. You know why? Because it's on the radio. And then we kind of, in our ignorance and youth, we're like, well, if it was bad, why would it be on the radio? Because we didn't stay in America. We didn't understand how mainstream media operates. So I definitely think like we all got to do more, like in terms of like media literacy, and like just getting young people to just question, especially their favorite songs, especially the songs with the best beats, especially the songs they want to dance to the most. Those are the most dangerous songs, because then you got to really be like, okay, line by line, hold up, wait a minute, this doesn't, because you know sometimes you see the people on social media that'll make the like reels, and they're kind of making jokes about, you know, songs we liked 20 years ago, or the videos we watched 20 years ago, and like, this was really kind of ridiculous. Like, look what he was wearing, look what she was wearing, or he did this, did that. Like but it's really a serious thing, because a lot of that content is very harmful, but we don't even know it's harmful, because young people, like, you know, they're not taught to really critically analyze things and scrutinize things, you know, because I think what should happen is like something should stand up to scrutiny. And then, or at least you say, well, yeah, I like the song, but like, yeah, that was some BS. That line right there, that's some BS. But I like 85% of the song. But I think we should at least be able to do that. I think young people should at least be able to do that. And adults too. I think as adults, we should look back and go back to a lot of the music that we listened to that really served as a blueprint for a lot of our behavior, and like how we kind of learned how to navigate the world, and really analyze it and say like, damn, like, yeah, I thought this was a good idea because he said it, and I just trusted him, you know, because I thought he knew what he was talking about, because the way he was saying it. It's kind of like when somebody says it's not about what you say, but how you say it. A lot of times, like the rappers, they're very good with wordplay, and they're very good with riding the beat. So it sounds good. Kind of like with a scammer. A lot of people get scammed because the person approaches them and they know how to talk real good. And they know how to talk.
Like a certain brother that just got arrested that we know in the conscious community. Yes. Talk real fast. Yes, sir. We know about that. You know, Brother Akil, I'm thinking about a brother named, I don't hear him a lot anymore, Lupe Fiasco. And I think of a song he made called Bad Bitch, or Bitch Bad. And what he's doing, he's showing you, when you take this trope as a sister or a brother, what it really means. He's breaking it down, how the kid hears it, how the woman thinks this, how it affects her behavior. All is real negative. I think it would be good. I would actually like to teach a class on that one day, using hip hop, because I've done a lot of hip hop, print out the lyrics, number them, questions. I like to do that. I think it'll be a very effective way. Now, we're running out of time. I want to, we had a really good broadcast. This has been a good balance of heavy and light, which I like. I want to end with light.
All right.
The way I'm going to do that is to ask our brother Akil Parker, give us his top 7 MCs, living or dead.
All right. So this is always one of the most difficult things to ever do, because it's so subjective. I don't know. I don't have firm metrics that, you know, I could just base it on just who I like, you know. So I guess it can't be debated, because it's just, you know, it's personal.
That's right.
And so not necessarily in any order. I would say Nas, even though I think either over time his politics have changed some, or maybe my politics have changed some. Either way, like I was just listening to Magic 3 a little bit earlier. I still think he's a great artist. J. Rue the Damager was always one of my. Yeah, I wish he was still making music right now. I don't know if I doubt that he is. Maybe he is. But I haven't heard of any in many years. KRS-One is another one of my favorites. And who else? I'm gonna put Rakim in there. So that's 4. So I got 3 more spots. Damn. I guess I named everybody that really, my top.
How about some sisters that don't get a lot of representation that you like?
Sisters, probably somebody from back in the day. Maybe, you know what? I own Sister Soldier's rap album. I got that on cassette. But I don't know if she would fit in like as one of my favorite like lyricists, but I want to honorably mention that album though.
No doubt.
Her very, very important as a political as a political artifact.
We are at war.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me throw MC Light in there, like as a private
yes, sir.
My favorite female MC. To counterbalance the males. She may be my favorite female MC. MC Light. Who else? Gee, you put me on the spot, but this is good though. You gotta practice performing under pressure. So if
you don't have another, that's good too.
I'm gonna say this. I like let me see. I put Biggie in there. Yeah, I put Biggie in there. Oh, how could I forget my man? Big L. Yeah, Big L.
Oh yeah, yes, sir. Big L.
Yeah, but Big L definitely one of my favorite like lyricists of all time. Wordplay and just. But you know what it is like. So there are a lot of rappers, a lot of commercial rappers that I'm gonna say this like real quick that have definitely artistic ability, a lot of talent. And as I've kind of grown on my own trajectory and like learning and studying and reading things, and I would always find myself thinking like, damn, like, if this brother, we could just get this brother a copy of Blueprint for Black Power, or like, get a copy of, Yoruga or something, or get this brother a copy of, Black Bourgeoisie by E. Franklin Frazier or something like that. And like, if he could use that same wordplay, that same artistic ability, that same talent, and just start to like spit some of this information, or at least infuse it in, with what he's already talking, he or she is already talking about. Yeah. Big L was one of those. I think one of my favorite lyrics, Beans is like that. Beanie Siegel.
Oh yeah, he's a monster.
He's an excellent rapper. I just wish that it's because he's so good at what he does. I would want for him to have a different content and then use that same talent and artistic ability to push that type of, that African-centered propaganda. Because I know it would just, because you get the young bro, because it's really not even about the content. What I've learned over the years, it's not even about the content, it's about the flow and how it feels when you hear it. So just like if you have a certain flow, I can make you want to shoot black men because of how it feels when I hear it. Or I can make you want to start independent African-centered schools in your community based on what I'm telling you. Or I could make you, want to, embrace urban farming or whatever, but it's about like how the music like makes you feel, that's one of the things I've learned, over the years. So like with the right content, then that content becomes the norm, That's
right. Well, listen, brother Kill, man, we appreciate your memories, your insights, your perspectives have been very informative. And I know we haven't had a heavy live turnout, but I know that the recorded version, as more people get off work and whatnot, pick up their kids, is going to be strong. And I thank you for being part of our Hip Hop 50 series, man. Oral tradition in the house,
I appreciate it, brother. It's an honor to just be, to be able to, sit down, chop it up with you about something that
also, brother,
life.
Yes, sir. Brother Kill, let us know where we can get your book.
Mm-hmm.
And I have on the ticker, is that right? The YouTube channel is called All This Math. They can go to All This Math and get right to your channel.
Definitely. So if you need any type of homework help for your children, no matter what grade or age, go to All This Math on YouTube. Don't suffer in silence. Don't have your children suffering in silence. Children bring home that homework, and their teacher wants them to do it a different way from how you know how to do it. I probably have a video showing in detail, in a simplified way, what their teacher is looking for. So just tune in, subscribe, like, and share. I'm trying to make sure that our community, and within our community, math is not going to be an obstacle no more. I don't want math to be a source of stress for our people no more. So that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. And the book, How to Use All This Math, Volume 1, which is a guidebook for parents to prepare their children to be strong in arithmetic and algebra from an early age. So I take everyday activities and make them into math lessons. And I show you how to do that in an easy way, so your children can develop those skills. That could be found on Amazon right now. It's called How to Use All This Math, Volume 1. Or you can just type in my name, Akil Parker, in the search box. It's the only book I have on Amazon right now. So, it'll come up. It'll pop up. So, yeah, so the book will help you to make sure your children are prepared for math class. So they never develop math anxiety. They'll never develop math phobia, because in their house on a day-to-day basis, they'll be, practicing math in a real life way, in a practical way. I'm showing practical ways to practice math in the household, in the car, running errands, and with you. Like, your children feel safe with you. You're their parent. So what happens is it's a safe learning environment. So even if they go to school, the school might not be a safe learning environment for them. But it's different being in an unsafe learning environment if you're just there to practice versus you're learning something, starting from zero, right? Because then it's like, I don't need to be as vulnerable, in this environment. Because, my parents, my old heads, my aunts, uncles, grandparents, they already taught me a lot of these skills. They taught me about fractions, ratios, proportions, percentages, negative numbers. And I've been practicing this in my household the same way I practice the English language, which is why a lot of children don't have the anxiety around the English language when they go to class, around English class. But they do have it around math, because in a lot of our households, we're not having conversations about math. We're not having math conversations. So the purpose of the book, one of the purposes is also to help you to, I'm trying to help show you easy ways to start having math conversations and have your children practice math on a daily basis. And, there's a lot of stuff that I did with my own children. So, it's been battle tested, it's been effective. And I'm just passing it on to the community. So, they can do the same thing. But definitely grab the book, but don't just grab the book just to show support. Grab the book to use it on a regular basis and make sure your children can grow into math scholars. Because I appreciate the support, but I don't want the book sitting on nobody's shelf. I want the book to be raggedy. I want the pages to be dog-eared. I want people like you flipping the page, using it, writing notes in the margins, annotating. I want all that. I want those books to get raggedy from use on a regular basis, and tell other people about it too. But the book and the YouTube channel are resources that I've created for our community so that we can win. And as Jacob Carruthers used to say, so we can get out of this mess that we're in as a people.
For sure.
Liberation.
And we definitely going to end on that strong note of Black liberation. As the Harlem Liberation School, we're all about wake up, clean up, stand up. Consciousness, self-correcting or being corrective, and standing up or resisting our oppression while building the things that our nation needs. All right, Brother Akil, we want to thank you again, brother. We're going to be in touch. We're going to probably have you back a dozen more times to teach our people about the math and its practicality, and not to be, as you said, anxious and intimidated by it, man. Thanks a lot, brother. Peace and Black power to you, man.
Peace.
Family watching, peace and Black power. Don't forget to stay up to date with what's going on at Harlem Liberation School, the Hip Hop 50 series. And if you are involved in our community in some meaningful way and you'd like to get on the broadcast, hit me up, right? You can hit us up on Facebook, Harlem Liberation School. Hit me up by my name, or you can do a link tree of Harlem Liberation School. You can find us. Peace and Black power. Let me hit y'all with a little something. It's the A to the GY, the EI. As you can see, I never worked for the CIA or the FBI. Why? Because IJ won't go out that way. Betraying the masses to kiss white people's asses for pay? Hell no. Not me. I'm for Black liberty, see? What good is gold when your soul ain't free? On that note, we end. Peace and Black power, family.